Hello folks, Midwest F-150 here. Yesterday I did an oil change on my 2021 F-150 3.5 liter Ecoboost and I live streamed it. So a lot of what's in this video are clips from that live stream. A little bit of context, my truck had just finished spending 2 months at the dealership in order to get the timing chain replaced. And most of the time when it was at the dealership, the valve cover and the timing covers were open and exposed to whatever was in the shop. Now I have a separate video explaining why it's getting a new timing chain, but in a nutshell, the timing chain showed premature wear. So when I got the timing chain replaced, I also had them do an oil change just to get any dirt or debris that was lodged inside the exposed timing cover and valve cover. So the oil that we're draining today has about 500 miles on it. And the reason why I'm doing an oil change so early is because I read online that about 500 to 1,000 miles after a new timing chain, it's best practice to drain it out so that any of the break-in metals from the new chain is removed from the engine. In this video, we're going to do the oil change, remove the oil filter, add a new round of Valvoline Restore and Protect, and then towards the end, we're going to cut into the oil filter to see what's inside. Just a heads up, there's a lot to see. And I also put it under a cheap microscope to take a close look at it. All right, well, here we go. All right, the oil filter that I typically use is the MicroGuard Select Extended Life. You can get this at O'Reilly's for $9.99, and it's rated for 10,000 miles. It's a really nice filter. And then for motor oil, as I mentioned earlier, I'm using the Valvoline Restore and Protect 5W30 viscosity. I've used this for over 10,000 miles across multiple intervals on the F-150. And then for the oil drain, I have a Valmax adapter installed on there, and so I just need to thread this hose on, and then as I thread more and more of it on, the oil drains out and through the hose. What's nice about this drain system is you can divert that hose to wherever you need it to drain into. In my case, I have it running through the skid plate and then down and into this green collection pan. Fast forward to the completion of the drain. All I need to do now is unthread the drain hose and replace the cover on there. Super easy, super clean. Everything's hand tightened. All right, so on to the filter removal. For some reason, this took me a really long time. Perhaps it's because I haven't done an oil change for a couple of months due to the truck being in the dealership. But yeah, loosened it up, and I waited a second for it to drain any oil out, and then took out the oil filter. You can kind of see the color of the oil in this shot. Sorry, it's a little blurry. All right, so time to prep the new oil filter. MicroGuard Select, of course. I removed the dust cover and add a little bit of oil, new oil, to the gasket. Unfortunately, I don't have footage of me reinstalling the oil filter. It was really difficult to get the camera in there to show you guys the removal, and I just didn't want to do it. After installing the oil filter on the engine, it was time to fill the oil. And I used this funnel called SEDY, S-E-D-Y. I got off of Amazon for about 30 bucks. It is a nice and fancy one, and unfortunately, they've increased the price to $44.99, which is just too expensive. I don't think it's worth it. But in this scene here, I have the valve open, and I'm pouring an entire bottle, 5-quart bottle, into the funnel. And I have it open just because the engine calls for almost 6 quarts of oil, and so what I did was just pour the contents of that first bottle, and then for the second bottle, I'm checking the dipstick, making sure that it's within the acceptable range before starting the engine. After I was done filling the oil, I flooded the engine. Essentially what that is me holding down the gas pedal all the way down and the brake, and then holding down the start button. This allows the engine to be primed with oil before it fully starts. Let go of gas. All right, at this point, we're done with our oil change. Here I am pouring the used oil into our storage container. It seems like folks really enjoy commenting on the color of oil and drawing conclusions from what it looks like, but ultimately it's used oil analysis that will tell you the whole story. Speed Diagnostics is a particular lab that I like to use when I'm doing an oil analysis. Let me know in the comments if you have a go-to lab when you're doing any used oil analysis. For me, I just find it kind of entertaining to see what's been running inside my engine, but also noting any, glitters or sparkly metals. All right, time to jump over to the oil filter. Here I am popping off the gasket. There is a little grayish color on the gasket, and I'm not sure what it is. Let me know in the comments if you know what that could be. All right, at this point, we're ready to crack the oil filter open. In this clip, I have the filter element removed so that I can see anything that's settled at the bottom of the casing. In my case, there is a lot of carbon deposits. This is quite a lot more than I'm used to seeing, especially for an oil filter with 500 miles. In this clip, I'm separating the filter media from the end cap so that I can flip through the pleats like pages on a book. I think that blue speck down there is from the microfiber cloth that I had the filter element resting on. But you can see here there's a lot of carbon deposits. A little bit of more carbon deposits than I had expected for an oil filter with only 500 miles. Okay, I won't include every second of the live stream clip of me looking inside the oil filter just because it's a lot of content. So I'll give you guys the highlights. Finding this pebble was one of the highlights. I mean, there were a lot of pebbles throughout the oil filter, and I suspect it's probably somehow lodged in there from the timing cover and the valve cover being open for well over 2 months in an active shop. The other thing that I noticed was a lot of RTV. If you've done timing chain jobs and you use RTV to reseat the timing cover, let me know in the comments if this is at all normal. One of the things that I worry about is this stuff accumulating on the oil feed lines going into the turbos. Those oil feed lines going into the turbo have screens on it, and my worry is that this is accumulating on the screen. But the other part of me is like, well, oil goes into the oil filter first before it goes in the feed line. So I don't know. I mean, it just depends on like where this RTV was inside the crankcase and if it's before or after the oil filter. Who knows? So here's another piece of it. One other thing that I found was some white, I don't even know how to describe it, but it has like a paper label consistency. When the dealership did the timing chain job, they also replaced the timing guides, and my guess is perhaps there's some sort of paper label that was stuck on there and it wasn't fully removed, and now it's showing up in the oil filter. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. And here's a close-up look at some of that RTV that I found in the filter media. Oh, also, as I was running the filter under the microscope, I saw this speck of metal. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's part of the break-in process with the new chain. I don't know. I'll continue to monitor it. Overall, I'm glad that I did this oil change. I'll be honest with you guys, I was a little bit mentally preoccupied with some of the things I saw under the truck. I'm a little bit disappointed with the dealership and how they carried out the timing chain job. I mean, number one, it took over 2 months, and number two, there were a lot of wire harnesses that weren't clipped into where it's supposed to be. So I spent a lot of time examining, making sure there isn't like any wire sitting against any exhaust or near any belts. It's just a disappointment all around. But I don't know. I mean, I'm grateful that the warranty covered it, but at the same time, like having to worry about whether or not the technician is doing everything correctly and doing quality work is a little bit of a headache. So if you ever take your stuff to the dealership or any shop, just take a look at it when you get home. Make sure that everything's done properly, because at the end of the day, we're all humans. There's a chance for human error, and so a visual inspection may just make all the difference. All right, well, hey, thank you so much for watching this video, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Bye now. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. On this channel, I'm on a mission to reach 500,000 miles on my 2021 F-150. Along the way, you can expect regular updates, in-depth product reviews, live streams, and more. Subscribe now to stay up to date and be part of the journey.